여러분 안녕하십니까? AI Talk with Andrew Ng
AI Talk with Andrew Ng is the title of this event, and welcome. My name is Lee Song-hee. I will serve as an MC for this event. Good evening.
We provide a simultaneous interpretation service. Please note that number 2 is for English. 본행사는 과학기술정보통신부와
This event is
정보통신산업진흥원이
hosted by Ministry of Science and ICT and National IT Industry Promotion Agency. Andrew Ng is one of the 4 worldly renowned scholar in AI, and with him we will look into the AI industry and have a session. We have AI researchers, the industry experts, and developers. I believe this will be a very meaningful time for you. Before we begin the official session, we first would like to have a group photo session. We have President Ho Sung-wook of National IT Industry Promotion Agency, Dr. Andrew Ng, Dr. Oh Hae-young from KAIST, and Kim Se-yeop from Selextra, and Mr. Hwang Min-young from Selextra, and Park Yi-an from VC. We would like to invite you to the stage.
네, 정말 모시기 어려운 분들 함께
And we have a renowned guest. And we're gonna have the group photo up. And please look at the camera at the center.
Big smile, the middle camera. 여러분 박수로 함께 해주십시오.
Please give them big hands.
자, 이번에는 본 행사의 성공을 기원하는 의미로 박수를 쳐주시면 감사하겠습니다. Please give a big hand.
Please give a big hand.
네, 감사합니다. 자리로
Thank you. Now you may return to your seat.
Your seat. 네, 오늘 1,600명이 넘는
And we have more than 1,600 people registered. And out of them, we have selected only 500 people who are present here today. Thank you very much for your presence out of busy schedule. Thank you. First comes first. And I would like to invite President Ho Sung-wook of the NIPA so that we can start the event. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome President Ho.
Good evening. I'm Ho Sung-wook, President of National IT Industry Promotion Agency. Originally, the Minister of Science and ICT was supposed to be here to welcome Dr. Andrew Ng and many of the participants. However, due to the conflicting schedule and national affairs, he was not able to be here. So he sent regards to all of you. And on behalf of him, I will deliver the welcoming speech. First, I would like to start by thanking Professor Andrew Ng, a world-renowned AI scholar, for his keynote speech today on the present and future of artificial intelligence. And a big welcome to AI researchers, startups, and everyone else who is attending today's event. In the wake of the hyperscale AI that is making waves around the world in 2023, the everyday use of AI is accelerating, with everyone now conveniently using AI through PCs and smartphones in their daily lives. In addition, as hyperscale AI is expected to spark powerful innovation in all areas of the economy and society, global big tech companies are investing heavily and launching new services at a rapid pace. The National IT Industry Promotion Agency will work together with the private sector to strengthen the competitiveness of artificial intelligence technology and industry based on our strength in science and technology and ICT competitiveness to leap forward as a global digital model country. First, we plan to expand our core infrastructure, including data and computing resources, so that the unique hyperscale AI models and services developed by our companies can be world-class and competitive. We will also promote the K-Cloud project to upgrade the data centers based on the ultra-high-speed and low-power domestic AI semiconductors in earnest. In addition, we plan to support the development of various hyperscale AI application services so that hyperscale AI companies and small and medium-sized enterprises and startups with creative ideas can work together to create an innovative industrial ecosystem. AI has infinite scalability and possibilities. Also, it is being recognized as a means to overcome global crises such as energy shortage and infectious diseases. National IT Industry Promotion Agency, together with the relevant ministries, plan to develop and expand AI that can improve the quality of life of the socially vulnerable group and strengthen real-time monitoring and response to disaster incidents. This is the era of deep digital technology where advanced digital coexist with humans and artificial intelligence is at the center of it. I believe that in the future, the competitiveness of individuals, companies, and even countries will be determined by how well they can be utilized AI. Together with the AI researchers and startups here, the government will continue to push forward various policies to help Korea become the country that best utilizes AI. I hope that today's event will provide you with meaningful insights into the present and future of AI. Also, I invite you to take on the challenges of leading global digital marketplace without borders. Thank you very much.
네, 정보통신산업진흥원
Thank you, President Her, for the wonderful welcoming remarks. In the future, how best you can utilize AI will determine how strong the country can be. So, we have lots of AI researchers and the AI startups. We should work together to make Korea as the best country which can utilize AI best. And I sincerely hope many of you and those who are joining online were encouraged thanks to President Her. Please give big hands to President Her once again. Thank you.
And please allow us to introduce our keynote speaker in English. It's my great honor to introduce a true visionary, an architect of the AI revolution, Dr. Andrew Ng. He leads AI Fund as a managing general partner and founder and CEO of Lending AI, founder of DeepLearning.ai, chairman and co-founder of Coursera, and an adjunct professor at Stanford University. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Andrew Ng with a big round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you. I love you too. You know, it's really nice to be here in Korea with all of you. And in fact, the fact that so many of you are here at 8 p.m. on a Friday evening, either in person or watching this on home, is, I think, a tremendous sign of the enthusiasm that there is for AI in Korea. So thank you all for being here or watching this online. And in the last few days visiting Korea, I've been really excited and really grateful to participate and to see the energy and momentum in the software industry here, as well as all the momentum in building AI in academia, as well as in large business, as well as in startups. And so I was thrilled to hear all the great work that NIPA and other government organizations are doing as well. And honestly, I think Korea has a very bright future in AI. What I'd like to do is share with you some opportunities that I see in AI globally as well as in Korea. And I hope that if in the future I can play some small role to support the rise of AI in Korea, I would be thrilled as well. So one of the tricky things to understand about AI is that it is a general purpose technology, meaning that it's not useful just for one thing, it's useful for a lot of different applications. Kind of like electricity. If I were to ask you, what is electricity good for? You know, it's useful for a lot of different things. So AI is the new electricity, and I think is starting to revolutionize all parts of society and of our economy. I'd like to step through with you how I see the technology landscape, and then this will lead into some, I think, exciting opportunities, maybe for all of us to work on in AI. There's a lot of excitement and hype about AI, and I think a good way to think about AI is as a collection of tools. So one of the tools is supervised learning, which is very good at labeling things or recognizing things. And then another important tool is generative AI. If you work in AI or study AI, you may have heard of other tools as well. But for today's presentation, I won't speak as much about them, but I'll just focus on the two most important, which are supervised learning and generative AI. So supervised learning is very good at labeling things via input to output mapping, so A to B, input A to an output B. For example, given an email, you can use supervised learning to label is this spam or not. Or the most lucrative, financially profitable application of this I've worked on, maybe not the most inspiring, but was probably online advertising, where given an ad, we can label if a user is likely to click on it. And today, for a company like Google, this type of technology drives more than $100 billion a year. For self-driving cars, you can input sensor readings from the car and label the position of the other cars. One of the projects my team at AI Fund did was working on ship route optimization, where we can input the route that a ship is going to take and label that with how much fuel this will consume, and we can use that to optimize fuel consumption. My team did a lot of work with visual defect inspection, so we can take a picture of a smartphone or other manufactured object and label it with whether or not it has a scratch or any other defect. Or if you want to do reputation monitoring of a restaurant, say, you can input a review and output, label that with is this a positive or negative sentiment. So one of the interesting things about supervised learning is it's not useful just for one thing. It's useful for all of these exciting applications and many, many more. Let me walk through the workflow of what building an AI system using supervised learning will look like. If you want to build an AI system to label reviews, you come up with a few data points. So you can say, the Sundubu Jjigae was great. Label that as positive sentiment. Or if someone says service is slow, then label that as a negative sentiment. Or my favorite japchae, positive sentiment. So here I've presented 3 data points. If you're building this in a practical application, you may need a few thousand data points of reviews and labels. And so the workflow of building an AI system using supervised learning would be to first get labeled data like this, with both the input A and the output B. And then you would train an AI model and have it learn from this data. And after that, you might find a cloud service to run or to deploy the model to start making predictions. So now you can say, best Dongjian Jjigae I've ever had, and label that as a positive sentiment. And so I think the last decade was the decade of large-scale supervised learning. What we found about 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, was that if you built a small AI model, so a small neural network or a small deep learning model, then even as you fed it more and more data, its performance would improve only for a little bit and then flatten out or plateau and stop improving. And what we found 15 years ago was if you built a very large AI model, then as you feed it more and more data, its performance seems to keep on improving. So when I started and led the Google Brain team, maybe about 10 years ago, the primary mission I set for that team was, let's build really, really large neural networks. And that recipe turned out to work, and the recipe of scaling up data as well as compute power has driven a lot of deep learning or AI progress over the last decade. How about this decade? I think this decade is turning to take supervised learning, but add to our toolbox generative AI. So for text generation, I know many of you will have played with tools like ChatGPT or Bard, but in text generation, you can input a piece of text called a prompt, like I love eating, and if you run it a few times, it may say galbi or doso bibimbap or galbi gem, and that's the AI output. This is an exciting technology, but let me take just half a slide to explain how this technology works. It turns out that at the heart of generative AI is using supervised learning, A to B, input to output, to repeatedly predict the next word. So if the AI reads on the internet a sentence like, my favorite food is gochujang samgyeopsal gui, then it will turn this into a few data points where one would be, given the phrase, my favorite food is, in this case, it should predict the next word is gochujang. then given my favorite food is gochujang, the next word is samgyeopsal, and similarly, for the last example, it should predict gui. And it turns out that if you train a very large AI system on a lot of data, meaning hundreds of billions of words, or in the case of the largest systems, 1 trillion or more words, then you get a large language model like ChatGPT. There's some additional technical details. Technically, rather than predicting the next word, you predict something called the next token. There's also a technique called RHF for further refining the outputs to make them more honest, harmless, and hopeful. But at the heart of generative AI is this idea of using very large data sets and repeatedly predicting what is the next word. And so, whereas many of us will be using ChatGPT and Bard as a consumer tool, log into the website and use it, and I think it's a fantastic tool. What is less widely appreciated is that prompting is also revolutionizing AI software application development. In particular, there are a lot of AI applications that are now much easier to build because of prompting. So in the traditional supervised learning approach, to build, say, a restaurant review system, you would get labeled data, maybe that'll take a month, get thousands of examples. Then you have engineers to help you train an AI model. That might take 3 months. And then finding a cloud service to run the model, maybe another 3 months to get it running robustly. So it's maybe 6 to 12 months would be a pretty realistic timeline for developing and deploying a valuable commercial grade AI system. Teams that I had led, very good engineers, we often took 6 to 12 months to build these systems, and it feels like a long time, although some of the systems we built turned out to be very valuable. But with prompt-based AI, it turns out the development cycle can be much faster. So the workflow with prompt-based AI is you can specify a prompt, so write a piece of text. This can take minutes, maybe hours, and then to deploy the model to start making inferences might take hours or maybe days. And so I know you were probably not expecting me to write code in this presentation, but I'm actually going to do that. And it turns out this is all the code I need in order to build and deploy a sentiment classifier. So let's see. Not to hold the mic while doing this. Okay. So I'm going to load and import some tools from OpenAI, and then I'm going to write a prompt. Classify the text below, delimited by 3 dashes as having either a positive or negative sentiment. So let me just write some text. And then I'm going to take the prompt and send it via API. I've actually never sent this particular phrase. Okay, thank goodness, you got it right. And so in about, 20 seconds, I built and used a sentiment classifier. And so today, and this is literally all the code that someone needs to write today to build a sentiment classifier. So what this means is that there are many applications that used to take me 6 to 12 months to build and deploy that many people can now build in maybe a few days or maybe in a week. And this also means that we can try a lot more ideas, prototype much more quickly, and just ship a lot more AI products. So I think that many people today still don't fully appreciate the huge wave of AI applications that I think can be built because it's so much easier and faster now for certain types of applications. So a couple months ago, working with some folks from OpenAI, I actually released a course on using ChatGPT as a developer tool. The course was ChatGPT Prompt Engineering for Developers. And in about 2 weeks, we had 500,000 enrollments, making this, as far as I know, the fastest course in the history of online education. And I think this is a sign of the number of developers that are learning about these tools and are starting to build many exciting applications. Also, earlier this week, when I was at Seoul National University, we announced that we're working to take a lot of materials we have on these short courses to provide a Korean language translation of the subtitles. So I'm excited about, hopefully, working to provide more of these materials to the career developer community as well. So in light of the technology landscape with supervised learning and generative AI, let me share a bit what I think of as some of the exciting AI opportunities. So the sizes of these circles show what I think is the value from different AI technologies today. Supervised learning, which can be worth more than $100 billion to a single company, has massive value today. And there are also millions of developers working to build supervised learning applications. So it has massive momentum and will continue to grow. Generative AI is much newer. Fewer of the use cases have been worked out yet, but there are also a lot of excitement on this. And so it is also going to grow rapidly, I think. And again, just to complete this, those are some of the technologies that I'll spend less time talking about. But if the sizes of the circles are the value of these technologies today, this is what I think it will grow to in 3 years. The value of supervised learning, because of the millions of developers working on it, I think might double in the next 3 years. So go from really massive to even more massive. And generative AI, while smaller now, will much more than double in the next 3 years. And 3 years is a very short time. So if this rate of growth continues for another 3 years, then 6 years out, the value from these generative AI will even compound and be much larger. But the opportunities are all of this light green and light orange shaded regions. That's where there are opportunities for either startups or large incumbent companies or for academia to create and to realize value. But one thing about all of these technologies is they are general purpose technologies, meaning that they're useful for many different tasks. So a lot of the work that lies ahead of us is still to identify and execute on the concrete use cases of these technologies. So massive value remains to be created using supervised learning. And even though we've not yet finished finding all the useful things we could do with supervised learning, we have this new tool, generative AI, that even further expands the set of things we can do using AI. But there's one caveat, which is that there will be short-term fads along the way. I'm not sure how many of you remember the app called Lensa. This is an app that would let you upload pictures of yourself, and then it would draw a really cool picture of you as a scientist or an astronaut or something. And so it was a very popular app, and its revenue took off like that really quickly through last December, and then it did that. And I think this is because Lensa was a good idea. People liked it. But it was also a very thin software layer, a very simple software layer built on top of someone else's very powerful API. So even though it was a good idea, it didn't last that long as a very high value business. When I think about what happened with Lensa and this as a thin layer on generative AI, I'm reminded of what happened when Steve Jobs gave us the iPhone. With this platform technology change with the iPhone, there were also fads. For example, someone figured out how to turn on, not sure you can see this, figured out how to turn on the LED to turn the phone into a flashlight. And that was a good idea. I mean, I paid $199 for that. But that was another fad because it was a thin software layer built on a very powerful AI platform that did not really stand the test of time. But when we got the iPhone, when we got smartphones, someone also figured out how to build Airbnb and Uber and Tinder. Those really hard, really deep businesses that stood the test of time and create long-term value. And the thing that excites me about AI is with this new generation of AI technologies, with these new AI platforms, I think there's an opportunity for us to figure out how to build the really hard, really deep businesses that can create long-term value for everyone. So this is the first trend I want to share with you, which is generative AI as a general purpose technology creates a lot of new opportunities for startups and for incumbents and for others. There's a second trend I want to share with you, which addresses why isn't AI more widely adopted yet? So a lot of us have been talking about AI for 15 years or something, but today a lot of the value is still concentrated in the consumer software internet companies like Google, Microsoft, Meta, Naver, Kakao. So why is that? So if you were to take all current and potential AI projects and sort them in decreasing order of value, you get a curve that looks like this, where to the left of the curve are projects like online advertising, where you can hire, say at Google, hire 100 highly skilled machine learning engineers to build an ad system and apply that system to 1 billion users and generate massive financial returns. But it turns out that once you go outside consumer software internet, where this recipe works really well, we built many valuable projects in consumer internet. But once you go outside consumer software internet, hardly anyone has 100 million or 1 billion users that you can build one AI system and apply to. Instead, in other industries like food manufacturing, these are some of the projects I've been excited about. We're working with a factory that makes pizzas, and they need to do things like take a picture of the pizza to make sure that the cheese is evenly spread. And so this is a $5 million problem, but the old recipe that my friends and I have worked out of hiring a lot of very highly skilled engineers to work on one application, that doesn't work for a $5 million application. This is another example. We're working with an agriculture company, and together with them, we figured out that if you can use cameras to figure out how tall a stalk of wheat is, then you can chop off the wheat at the right height. You get more food out of the farm for the farmer to sell, and it's also better for the environment. But this is another $5 million project that the old recipe of hiring 100 engineers does not work for. And many other examples like this, materials grading, cloth, sheet metal grading, and so on and so forth. So whereas to the left, in the head of this distribution, there are a few billion-dollar projects that we know how to solve, and that works and that's valuable. Here, in this long tail, I see tens of thousands of $5 million projects that people have a hard time executing on. Because of the huge number of applications in this tail, I think the aggregate value in the tail may be even greater than the value in the head of this curve. But the challenge is, how do we unlock this value? So the second trend I want to mention that I find exciting is the AI community has been working and is developing much better tools to make it easier to build these applications. So specifically, no-code and low-code tools are starting to enable the user to let them customize their own AI system. So for example, if we have tools that let the IT department of the pizza maker train their own AI on pictures of the pizza to build their own custom AI system, then the IT department of the pizza factory can realize this value by themselves. And same for the IT department of the agriculture company. The technology to do this is we can now increasingly let users provide prompts or provide data using a technology called data-centric AI instead of having to ask them to write very advanced AI code. And this is opening up the set of AI applications that can be economically built. And I think this is important because this, I think, is the key to unlocking the value in AI, not just in consumer software internet, where it's working quite well, but to take the value of AI and take it to really all industries, including non-consumer software internet. So given these two trends, AI as a general purpose technology with a lot of exciting opportunities we can build, as well as these technologies, tools that are helping us to push AI outside consumer software internet to all other industries. What can we do? A puzzle that I wanted to solve about 5 years ago was I felt that many valuable AI projects are starting to be possible. And this is even much more true now than 5 years ago when I was thinking about this. And the puzzle I want to solve was, how do we get all of these many projects done? And even though I had led AI teams in big tech companies like Google and Baidu, I couldn't I couldn't picture myself able to operate a team in one big tech company to go after such a large diversity of applications in everything from maritime shipping to financial services to healthcare to education and on and on and on. So about 5 years ago, I decided that starting many new companies is an efficient way to do this, which is why I started AI Fund as a venture studio to partner with entrepreneurs to build multiple new companies in order to pursue different meaningful projects. And in fact, with my visit to Korea and seeing the buzz and excitement here, one of the things I'm excited about exploring the future is to see if we can work together to maybe build something here in Korea as well. So I'm been speaking of partners to explore if we can do that. And then, of course, in addition to starting new companies, I think incumbent companies also have many opportunities to integrate AI into existing businesses. So many incumbent companies have significant distribution power, and that too can be a huge advantage for building and shipping AI products. But just to be concrete, where are these opportunities? So let me share with you what I think, what is the AI stack and where some of the opportunities lie. At the lowest level of the AI stack is the hardware, semiconductor hardware. I know there's a lot of work in Korea on semiconductor, a lot of exciting work. I find that this sector tends to be very capital intensive and very concentrated. So I don't personally play there myself, but I know given the strong semiconductor industry in Korea, I think it makes sense. A lot of companies here are playing here. Then there's the cloud infrastructure layer, which again tends to be very capital intensive, very concentrated. I think there are good opportunities, but again, I don't play there myself, not much. And then there are the developer tools. In the coding demo that I showed just now, I was using OpenAI as a developer tool to build a sentiment classifier. I find that the developer tool sector is hyper competitive. Look at all the startups chasing OpenAI. But there will be some mega winners. Maybe OpenAI will be one of them. And so I tend to play here, but only carefully and when I think my team has a unique technology advantage, because I think that gives you a better shot at being one of the huge winners and providers of developer tools in this very competitive space. And then lastly, a lot of the media attention, a lot of the excitement is on the infrastructure and developer tool layer. And it turns out that despite all that attention on this layer, the only way for this layer to be successful is if the application layer is even more successful. Because for infra and tools to be successful, the application layer has to generate even more revenue for them to be able to afford to pay the infrastructure and the tooling layer. And we saw this with the rise of SaaS as well, with the rise of cloud, where a lot of the media attention was on the technology, which is great because the technology is exciting. But the only way for those companies to be successful, tools companies successful, is that the applications built on top of them are even more valuable. And interestingly, when my team works with different partners to build different applications, we find that often there are rich needs, rich user demands, but not nearly as intense a set of competition. So let me illustrate this as an example. Over the last few days, I was actually texting back and forth with the CEO of Amorai. We're working together on some things. And Amorai is a company that my team AI Fund has been working on that applies AI to romantic relationship coaching. And I just point out, as an AI person, I feel like, I know nothing about romance. And if you don't believe me, you can ask my wife. She will confirm that I know nothing about romance. But when we decided to pursue an opportunity in AI applied to romantic relationship coaching, we wound up working with the former CEO of Tinder. Her name is Renate Nyborg. And with my team providing AI expertise, and Renate, because she ran Tinder, she knows probably more about relationships than anyone else I know, we're able to work together to build something quite unique, applying AI to romantic relationship, to relationship mentoring. And if you look at how many teams in the world are experts simultaneously in AI and in romantic relationships, it's actually not that many. So even though there's a huge market need for this, many people want better relationships, the competition set, it just doesn't feel nearly as competitive. And I feel like there are actually a lot of applications that are exciting. So in fact, the last few days in Korea, we're speaking with many different groups in many different industry sectors. And I feel like in Korea, there are many businesses, AI applications that really make more sense to build in Korea than even Silicon Valley. Because, for example, the differences in the Korea ecosystem and the global tech ecosystem means that there are applications in financial services or electronics manufacturing or these other sectors where Korea is strong, that would be easier to build a business in Korea than for someone like me in Silicon Valley to do it by myself. But what I want to do is just walk you through our process for building startups. Over the last 5 years, my team has repeatedly refined and honed our process for building startups. And I want to just share with you our recipe for building startups because it just seems to work well. Hopefully this will be interesting and useful to some of you too. But my teams always had access to a lot of ideas, right? We talk to people and they share startup ideas with us. Internally, our team has ideas. But I want to walk through this process with one illustrative example of the company Bearing AI, which is a company that uses AI to make ships more fuel efficient. So this idea was suggested to me by a large conglomerate called Mitsui that operates a line of ships, or is a major shareholder in a line of ships. And this is one of those examples that, I would never have had this idea myself because I've been on a boat, but what do I know about global maritime shipping? But Mitsui came to me a few years ago and they said, hey, Andrew, you should build a startup to use AI to help ships find better routes and make them more fuel efficient. A large ship today may use $450,000 of fuel a year, and it turns out that we can save maybe 10% of the fuel. But when a partner shares an idea like this with us, we then spend about a month validating the idea. So we do a market validation to make sure that it's a useful product with market demand, and do a technical validation to make sure that this is technically feasible. So we actually build a prototype to make sure it's technically feasible. After this validation, we then recruit a CEO to work with us to build this business. In the case of Bearing AI, we recruited a fantastic CEO, Dylan Kyle, who's a multiple-time entrepreneur who's had one successful financial exit before, and he joined us to build this company with us. In our current process, we then spent 3 months building a technical prototype and doing deep customer validation with the CEO, usually doing actually 6 two-week sprints, so 3 months in total. If the company survives this step and has about a 66% survival rate, but if survives this step, if after this still looks good, we then make a larger financial investment into the company to give the resources to grow an executive team, build a real product, hire a team, and then hopefully go out to raise the next round of funding and keep growing from there. And having done this a few times, I've learned that my swim lane, what my team needs to be really good at, is the AI technology. And I find that AI technical expertise is important for this process because we have to be able to do accurate technical validation, have to make sure the AI tech is built quickly and well. And I think for the businesses we work with, we've always, I think, managed to help the companies build a strong technical team. And I find that with this recipe of us providing the AI expertise and others coming to work alongside us to take us into industries that we otherwise won't know much about, this is actually a pretty efficient process for building valuable businesses. So today, there are hundreds of ships on the high seas that are about 10% fuel efficient because of this company, and I'm actually quite proud of the work that we're able to support Dylan Kyle as well as Mitsui to accomplish. I want to share just one other tip or one other unusual aspect of startup building with you, which is that we like to engage only when there's a concrete idea. So kind of where do the ideas come from? And I want to share this with you because this runs counter to a lot of the standard advice that you hear in design thinking methodology, which is that we'd like to start work only when a partner shares with us a concrete idea. So for example, these are ideas that are not concrete. If someone comes and says, hey, Andrew, you should apply AI to financial services, because I am not a subject matter expert in financial services, I don't know what to do with that. It takes me too long to go and learn enough about financial services to figure out what to do. In contrast, this is a concrete idea. This is not a serious idea. One of my partners wrote this as a joke, kind of tongue-in-cheek. But he said, BuyGP eliminates commercials by automatically buying every product in exchange for not having to see any ads. It's not a good idea, but it is a concrete idea. And we found that concrete ideas can be validated or falsified efficiently. You can quickly decide if this is worth doing. It also gives a clear direction for the team to execute to see if it's workable. And it turns out that there are a lot of subject matter experts in today's world that have often thought deeply about a problem for many months, sometimes even 1 or 2 years, but have not yet had an AI-built partner. And we found that when we get together with them and they share their idea with us, often that allows us to validate and build a startup very efficiently. So I think that with this recipe, in fact, in the conversations we've been having over the last few days, we actually heard a few really intriguing, concrete ideas from different Korean partners. And so I'm going to keep on exploring if it's possible to collaborate with teams here to build something. Before I wrap up, I just want to say a couple words about risk and social impact. And this is my last topic, which is, we take responsible AI seriously. AI is a very powerful technology, and my team, and I think really all of us, I hope will work only on projects that move humanity forward. So specifically, AI Fund, we have killed and we will continue to kill projects that we may even assess to be financially sound, but based on ethical grounds. And this has always been a part of who we are. And to dive a bit deeper into the risks of AI today has problems with bias, fairness, accuracy. I think the technology is improving quickly, so they're becoming less biased, more fair, more accurate. But these are still unsolved problems, and it is important that we continue to pay a lot of attention to these problems. And when I look at problems or risks of AI, I think one major risk is that it will disrupt many occupations. This is a chart from a research paper by one of my friends at the University of Pennsylvania and some folks at OpenAI, showing the exposure of AI to different jobs according to wage. So on the x-axis, the horizontal axis, is the annual salary or the annual wage. On the vertical axis is how exposed the tasks of different jobs are to automation by AI. It turns out that in the earlier ways of automation, it tended to be the lower wage jobs that were more exposed to automation, like when we put robots in factories, for example. But in this wave of disruption by generative AI, it appears that it's the higher wage jobs that are more exposed to automation by AI. And so I think that even as we build AI technologies and create tremendous value, I think we have an obligation as individuals and citizens and corporations and as society, with government playing a big role too. I think all of us have an obligation to make sure that the people whose livelihoods are disrupted are also well taken care of. And then lastly, this is my last slide, I think there's also been a lot of hype about artificial general intelligence or AGI. I think that's still decades away, maybe 30 to 50 years, maybe even longer. But the idea of AGI has created a lot of hype, I think much too much hype, about whether AI creates an extinction risk for humanity. Honestly, I don't see AI creating any meaningful extinction risk for humanity for a few reasons. One, people worry if AI is more powerful than us, well, is there extinction risk? Well, it turns out that we have lots of experience steering very powerful entities such as corporations and nation states. Corporations and nation states are much more powerful than any single person, but we've managed to get them, for the most part, to benefit humanity. And then second, AI develops gradually, and so the hard takeoff scenario where AI is only working so-so, and then one day suddenly overnight it achieves super intelligence and takes over the world. I mean, technology doesn't develop like that. AI will become more and more intelligent gradually, or develop gradually, which gives us plenty of time to put in place safeguards and oversight to make sure that it is safe. And finally, if you look at the things that are an actual existential risk to humanity, and I think there are a few, such as, fingers crossed, the next pandemic. I know Korea handled the last pandemic really well, but other countries didn't all do as well. Or climate change, which could lead massive parts of the planet to be nearly unlivable, leading to massive depopulation in huge parts of the planet. Or much lower probability, but maybe another asteroid doing to us what it did to the dinosaurs. If you look at the actual real existential risk to humanity, I think having much more artificial intelligence will be a key piece of the solution, and having much more intelligence can only help us safeguard against the things that are an actual real extinction risk. So I think if you want humanity to survive and thrive, to survive and do well for the next 1,000 years, rather than trying to slow down AI, I would rather make AI go as fast as possible. And so that, just to summarize, I think AI as a general purpose technology creates a lot of opportunities for all of us to build exciting, meaningful projects. AI is such a huge benefit to society right now, with some risks as well. And the last few days visiting Korea has been, my team knows I tend to just work. I'm not known for having fun. But honestly, I really had fun the last few days in Korea. And I hope that in the future, we have more opportunities to engage and work together as well. So with that, let me say thank you all very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. We will have a Q&A after all the session conclude. Thank you very much. 네, AI가 가진 기회에 대해서 말씀을
He talked about the opportunity provided by AI. Supervised learning and generative AI was mentioned, and we need technology that can provide long-term value. And AI is purpose technology, and it should be expanded to many other industries. And he also provided tips for building startups and provided examples of startups. Korea is very strong at application, so he also expressed the wishes to work with many startups in Korea, and also he talked about the risk and opportunity. So that provided insight and motivation. Please give one more round of applause to him. Let us move on to the next keynote speech. The next speaker is Mr. Kim Se-yeop, the CEO and co-founder of Selectstar. He is also the 2021 Forbes Asia 30 Under 30, and he also was selected as a top 100 people in 2 years row. And the title is the Introduction to AI Data Flywheel.
Good evening. I am Kim Se-yeop, CEO of the Selectstar. Personally, I'm so honored to stand here in front of you. For me, Andrew Ng's machine learning was my first lecture, and that's how I set foot in AI. I started my company, and now I'm standing in front of you. At this evening, and probably you want to learn from Andrew and you want to get from the insights from Professor Andrew Ng. And Professor Andrew Ng, thank you very much. Let me introduce Selectstar, and we are the platform company for the AI data training. Professor Andrew Ng is underlining data-centric AI, and we are implementing on it. So today, I'm going to tell you about the AI data flywheel. This is the contents that I'm going to cover today. And I will briefly introduce my company because there will be some people who do not know about my company yet. Selectstar is an all-in-one data platform that provides a solution for AI data training collection and labeling. And there are lots of the data partners of the large companies, and we are the key data partner. Vision and audio data are the key business. When it comes to the text data, we are the #1 in South Korea. And we are the only company that have implemented on the benchmark data set like a Concord or the Clue. And our data set has been covered in the Tier 1 journals like CBPR or the NIPS for about 10 times. Based on this capability, we are now building the benchmark data set. And as Andrew mentioned, the large language model reliability should be validated. So we are building the benchmark data set to the large language data model, and we are leading that project. So LLM reliability, ethical issues, hallucination issues will be validated. So we should have the standard about the LLM. Under the NIA project, we are leading this kind of program. And now let me tell you about the implementation. And as you know, the data-centric AI is the new trend. As AI is more mature, the training methodology and the parameter fine-tuning, in the past it was model-centric. However, now we have quite mature AI technology. So to put the AI into your service, you should enhance your data set, and you need to make the modification. That's why data-centric AI has become really important. In the past, data was fixed, only the model was improved. However, right now, as we have optimized the model is fixed and the data will be modified and enhanced. Data-centric AI is really important. Let me tell you why. First, when the data is causing the issue, data can be the solution. Let's say there is an issue because of the data imbalance. Actually, model cannot resolve that. Data can be the best solution when there is a data imbalance.
렉과 와이드 간의 간극을 좁혀서 프로덕션 레벨에 올리기
And to put the AI into the production, you should have the best edge case handling. Edge case handling should be developed in advance before you put the AI into the production environment. During the AI operation, there will be lots of data shift, which will cause performance degradation. So, data-centric approach can be better in handling data shifting issue. Data-centric AI has been studied a lot in academia. There are lots of frameworks, as you can see. You can see lots of publications. The number of publications is increasing.
기업과 서비스 현장에서 이 데이터 센트릭을 기준에 적용하기
Data-centric approach can be used, however, based on the AI data flywheel. This means how you can improve the data in a systematic way, in a repeated way.
일단 출발
The starting point will be dataset planning.
내 AI 상황에 맞게 데이터를
Considering your AI condition, how you can build a dataset. That's the first step.
그런 계획에 맞춰서
And the second step is based on your planning. You should collect the raw data and curate the candidates. After that, with the collection and labeling, you should build a data set, and the data will be trained against the model, and the data should be analyzed. If there are some performance issues within the AI model, probably it can be caused by data set. So data should be fully analyzed to see if data has negative impact on the performance of the model. On the next level, on the next cycle, we can build a better data set. With this cycle, we can have the better and better data set. And then we should have the better data set management as the cycles are being repeated. Tesla is known as a company which is doing this really well. They have lots of driverless vehicles, and they can find out some of the edge cases and the triggers, and then they modify their data, and their AI is being updated on a cycle-by-cycle basis.
그래서 이제 AI 데이터 플라이에 대해서 어떻게
Now let me tell you what is the approaches we can have about AI data flywheel.
기획부터 좀 말씀드려보겠습니다.
Starting from the planning.
데이터셋 기획의 가장 중요한 부분 중에 하나가
In the dataset planning, what is most important
어떤 상황에
is
마주할 것인가.
what can be the scenario you're gonna face in your AI model. That kind of planning is really important. Usually metadata can be utilized,
데이터셋들을 훑어보고
and you can review the data set based on the metadata. Let's say there is a driverless driving at the nighttime, what's gonna take place, and at the early in the morning, what's gonna take place. Based on the weather information, you should take a review. What's gonna take place when it snows?
이런 것들을 이제 보는 과정들을
So that kind of a scenario should be fully reviewed. However, when you review the data like this, but when you use the feature space, you can have a more efficient review. As you know, feature space means the similar data set is kind of clustered, and the feature space can be really useful in doing that kind of scenario-based clustering. Let's say when there is too much raining, probably your windshield will have too much rain, and that can be a scenario that you can work on with the feature spacing. Now let me tell you more about data set curation. Let's say you have lots of data and you cannot do labeling for each of the data. That's why you need curation. So feature spacing or feature embedding can be used so that you can take a look at the distribution. When you are doing the data curation, usually random sampling is the typical methodology you use. However, when you have similar samples, in that case, unexpectedly, you can have too much sample from that similar sample. However, if you are using the feature sample, in that case, you can have many of the edge cases in your data set, which means with a relatively small data set, you can have a better performance. Not only on the vision, but also on the text recognition, the same logic can be applied. With the LLM, you can generate the data and that generated data set can be used for the training. However, rather than using the model-generated data, you can simply use the sampling. You can do the sampling out of the model-generated data, and after that, you can do the validation. In that case, the data quality can get better and the performance of the training can get better as well. So you should have the better sampling and better validation. That can be the best approach.
그리고 데이터 구축 부분에 있어서 포인트를 말씀드리겠습니다.
And let me tell you about dataset
다들 이제
building.
피부로 많이 느끼셨겠지만
And you have hands-on experience about dataset building. Consistency really matters. Accuracy matters. This is the process, human in the loop. The guideline should be given, and you should give a clear and transparent guideline to your labelers.
시험을 통과한
And only the skilled labelers who passed a kind of testing should work on this one, and you should keep monitoring the performance and the outcome of those labelers. And after that, the full dataset inspection should be made. Only then your dataset can contribute to better performance of the model.
실제 텍스트 데이터를 구축을 하다 보면
Next consideration is diversity. When you extract the text data set, sometimes the text is too similar. They are almost exactly the same. Only one token is different. Only one syllable is different. In that case, you should have the text filtering so that you can guarantee diversity in your data set.
마지막 이제 분석 부분입니다.
Last but not least, let me tell you more about data analytics. Data analytics means you should find out why edge case is not working in your dataset.
그래서 이제 edge
You
case라고
can
하면
use the
상당히 잘
feature
알아볼 수
space.
있는데 여기 보이시는 빨간색
Let's take a look at this. There are some red dots.
그 AP가 굉장히 낮은 그런 사례들입니다.
The car cannot detect the traffic lights, and you can take a look at why the detection rate is so low. When you open the data set, you can see there is a traffic light. However, the car is under the bridge, so it cannot detect the traffic light. And one of the root cause can be you are lack of enough data set. So around the edge case, you can see there are not many data samples. So we can use the unlabeled data, and you can come up with some more data. And on the next cycle, you can give more data feedback to this edge case.
라지 랭귀지 모델을 포함해서
Including the large language model.
AI에 대한 관심이
Yes.
어느 때보다 굉장히 높은
Many people are excited about AI more than before. As Professor Andrew Ng mentioned, large model and the computing can be really helpful when we are making the AI model. And probably in the future, my methodology will be modified as technology changes. However, what matters is data is important, and the data-centric model enhancement will not change. That's why data-centric AI and the data flywheel will become more important right now and even in the future. So as we are using the common model, data will take more importance. That's it from me. Thank you very much.
네, 감사합니다.
Thank you.
기술 창업자신 김세엽 대표님의 기조
Mr. Kim Se-yeop, thank you very much. He's the CEO and the founder. He told us why data-centric AI is important and why that's necessary. He also told us about the data set that can contribute better to your AI model. And also, he clearly explained his solution can clearly show what kind of data is now lacking and how we can modify the data set and we can make the data set better in the next cycle. And Selexstar has been working on various national level data set projects. Data curation, data collecting, label, data building, and data set analysis have been fully explained thanks to Mr. Kim. Thank you very much, Mr. Kim, for your wonderful explanation. And he also introduced the key business model of the Selexstar. Thank you very much, Mr. Kim. And I sincerely hope that you can get lots of insights from the two keynote speeches. Please give them big hands.
네, 다음 순서는 fireside chat과
Let us move on to fireside chat and Q&A session.
함께 해주실 패널분들
I would like to introduce the panelist and moderator.
먼저 오혜연 교수님
First, let me
소개해드립니다.
introduce Professor Oh Hae-yeon. She is a computer science engineer, and she is a professor in KAIST, and she is a director of Mars AI Research Center. And in December this year, at New Leaps 2023, for the first time as a Korean, she got the position of general chair. And the next panelist is VC Park Yan. In particular, Park is the lead in AI and previously worked in the McKinsey and Company consultant, so an expert in AI. And we have the CSO Hwang Min-young of the Selecta. Previously, he worked as a CEO of Video Factory, and as a data star, the award, she received the grand award. So let us invite the panelist and moderator to the stage. Please welcome them to the stage.
네, 그러면 오늘 좌장으로 수고해 주실
Then,
황민영
let me hand over the
첫 번째
microphone
마이크를 넘기도록
to the
하겠습니다.
moderator of this session. Please.
so much. Hi, my name is Michael Hwang. I'm a co-founder and CSO of SelectStar, and we go with global brand name called Datumo. So I am very much honored, and I had privilege of moderating this fireside chat. So first of all, thank you, Andrew, so much for the insightful talk and all the demo and everything. And also, I'd like to thank Alice, Professor Alice. So she should be moderating, not the one of the panels. So she's so great, and she's the as the announcer told everyone, she will be the general chair of NIPA 2023. So she's the one in AI in Korea. So thanks for coming. And thank you, Ian. Actually, Ian has been spending a whole 2 days of schedule with Andrew for his Korean trip, and he was the one who moderated everything. So if it wasn't for Ian, this whole event couldn't happen. So thank you so much. So the fireside chat is gonna go like this. So I represent the AI industry and AI startup, and Alice represents the academic area, and Ian will represent the VC area. So we'll shoot question to you, and Andrew will answer it back. And after some fireside chat, we're gonna hand over our mics to floor and get some question from the audience. All right. Without further ado, Andrew, do you want to make any remarks or any thoughts?
You know, every time I show up anywhere, Michael always says, Andrew, do you have any opening remarks?
This is fifth time, right?
I know, yeah. But it is good to be here and looking forward to the conversation. And I feel like, frankly, I feel like it's really nice to be here with a panel. I'm actually eager to hear what Ian and Alice and Michael think about AI in Korea as well.
Right, thank you. Alice, do you want to give some remarks and maybe introduce yourself?
Oh, sure. So as I was introduced, I'm at KAIST. I work on language most of the time. I am very interested in Korean language models as well as language models of low or less resource languages, so languages other than English. And I'm also very much interested in how we are different culturally, historically, geographically, and what that means in terms of trying to develop these AI technologies for everybody around the world.
All right. Now, Ian, so it is pretty awkward to say because Ian spent whole few days with Andrew, and I'm asking Ian to ask questions to Andrew. So, how was your trip in Korea, and what do you think about this conversation?
I mean, it's been really fun. I really didn't expect the Koreans to have this much interest in AI, and wherever Andrew goes, it was crazy. So a lot of selfies, a lot of good memories, and yeah, we had a really great time. And I just want to say thank you to SelectStar to organize all this event, and Jugan Silicon Valley. They helped us organize the entire event for Andrew, so I'm really grateful for that.
And NIPA.
And NIPA, thank you.
All right, without further ado, Alice, do you want to start your first question and maybe conversation with them?
Sure. How much time do we have in total? Like-
Actually, we were supposed to end this 15 minutes later, but I think.
Okay.
Do you have more time? Andrew, is it okay if you go? Is it okay everyone if you go over time?
I'm fine.
Yeah, 15 minutes of fireside chat doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
Okay, well, so I have a bunch of questions, but because I am trying to, or I'm supposed to represent academia, I'm going to ask you about education, right? So you showed how ChatGPT can be used in a lot of these applications, but we can talk about education, right? And as we know, your lecture or your talk today was great, and you're an excellent and outstanding educator, but you have one problem, which is that there's only one of you, right? So do you think that ChatGPT can replicate your education, how you educate? And what your lectures are so popular in Korea, right? So, but one thing that Sam Altman was saying, with ChatGPT, we can actually have personalized education, right? So I want my Enduring lecturer telling me how to do my, homework, whatever. Do you think that's possible? And if not, what are the obstacles, and how do we move forward to actually really innovate education?
Yeah, I think in the short term, some exciting applications of, I do think that there is a path to putting a personalized tutor in every child's pocket in their cell phone. Some things I've seen already that I think are exciting. Coursera has launched something called Coursera Coach, which you can go in, take a class, and ask questions about it. And if you try it out, I think it's actually pretty good. If you ask it certain questions, you can get it to hallucinate if you try. So it's not perfect, but when I've gone through some Coursera courses and asked it questions, it actually is pretty good, I thought, at giving feedback right away. And Sao Khan, Khan Academy also has launched Khan Migo that I think is a very interesting product. I find that today, if a student needs help from a teaching assistant or wants feedback, they can post in an online forum and maybe a day or two later to get an answer. It's actually not bad. But with a well-designed chatbot, the fact that we can start to increasingly give students personalized and even very rapid feedback, and I think that's very exciting. But there's one caveat. Even though Coursera Coach and Khan Migo are taking us one step toward personalized coaching, personalized education, I think there's still a lot more to come in education. I'm seeing prototypes, frankly, not working that well yet, where people are trying to automatically put together courses. Most of them, they don't feel that good yet, but it feels to me that there is a few more transformations of education that is still yet to come. Oh, and then, don't want to go on for too long, but there's one of the transformation of education that I'm excited about, which is, I think with the recent developments in generative AI, I think there's now an argument to be made that was not true a year ago, that I would love to see every student learn to code at least a little bit, because in today's society, everyone has data. A large company has data, a small company has data. A student in school doing a biology experiment, they have data. And with modern AI tools, it's become easier than ever before to get your own custom AI system to work. And so for the individual, it's now very empowering to learn just a little bit how to code, to process your own data. And also at a societal level, AI is such an important part of society that in democracies, having everyone understand AI better means that we can together figure out better how to move forward as a society with the rise of AI.
Cool. Any follow-up questions or?
Yeah, I think you're right that we have these baby steps towards personalized tutor. But my original question, can we make Andrew Ng level educator? I think, as you said, we have a long way to go there, and it's probably not a very easy. There's not going to be an easy solution to that.
Yeah, someday, I hope every child will have a tutor that's way better than me. I see a lot of flaws in my own teaching, so I really hope every child deserves someone way better than me someday.
There's too much of fangirl inside of you. Right. Next, I'd like to pass to Ian, and do you like to shoot any questions?
Yeah, I think the question I had was, there's been a lot of summers, AI summers, multiple times. I don't think neural network is something new that just popped up 2022 and having a moment. The AI has been around for a long time. And the investors are always curious about, is this another fad that we're having? Is this another AI summer that's going to be followed by an AI winter? So do you think this time is different? Or if you think it's different, why is it different this time?
Yeah, let me give my perspective, and then Ian, as an investor, you've studied this extensively. Let me ask you what you think as well. So I feel like a lot of industries sometimes they're overhyped. Then the disappointment leads to winter. But there are industries that go through winter, 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 then eternal spring. And I do think that we have reached, I think, what looks like an eternal spring era for AI. And the reason is creating so much value. The fundamental economics of AI means that it's creating so much value for society and for businesses that creates the resources to keep on powering this engine. And the fundamentals of AI is that it's very valuable, which makes me confident that it's not just hype. Now, it is possible that subsets of AI will get overhyped and there'll be little disappointments, but because it's so valuable today, I think we're in the eternal spring era. But I'd love to hear your thoughts too, Ian.
I mean, I agree to some extent. I think AI is having its moment a little bit, but the only thing is that there's some AI companies that are valued too higher than what it should be. So
Do you want to name them by name?
no, not here. We've been debating about this in the car all the time, but I think there are some sectors, exactly what you said, subsectors of AI companies that are overvalued right now. So that's actually creating some delusion that, I'm an AI company, I can be valued 10 times more than regular SaaS company because I'm an AI company. But basically, yeah, I agree. This could be the eternal spring for the AI to some extent.
All right, so following that, I also have a question because there could be some spring of AI, but like on your lecture, you just mentioned that generative AI is exploding right now, but it's still relatively very small to the supervised learning vision AI market. So why do you think that way? Because like there's whole world is like bombarding with generative AI stuff and people saying that this is new big thing after the AlphaGo thing happened. So many people think that this is even gonna be larger than current level of supervised learning. But you in your slides, it's still relatively very small. Why do you think that way?
Yeah, so, in 10 years, will it be bigger than supervised learning? I don't know. But I think in the short term, it takes a lot of work to work on concrete use cases. There is one major limitation of generative AI, at least today in the near-term technology, which is that for the most part, it only works on what's called unstructured data, meaning text, images, maybe audio. And the reason is today's generative AI algorithms are built by training very large neural networks, called a transformer neural network, on huge amounts of text or maybe images or maybe audio found on the internet. And the thing is, text on the internet, if you learned a lot from text on the internet, that's actually pretty useful for processing your own text or text documents in your corporation. Or if you learn from a lot of images on the internet, images have a small number of standard formats. So learn from GIFs, JPEGs, PNG files on the internet. That turns out to be pretty useful for processing your own, GIFs, JPEG, and PNG files. But it turns out that most of the world's data is not unstructured data. It's actually structured data, meaning tables of numbers. And it turns out that if you learn from some tables of numbers, say I may have an AI system, find some data on the internet about, shipping fuel efficiency or ad click-through rate. If you learn from those types of tables of data, and then you use the AI inside your own company, your company has totally different tables of numbers on maybe some sort of website visitation revisit rate or something. And so the current wave of generative AI algorithms, it works great on text, images, and audio because learning from huge data sets on the internet generalizes to other types of text, images, and audio. But structured data is so diverse, so heterogeneous, we've not yet figured out, and it seems quite difficult right now to get these algorithms to work on structured tabular data, which is why supervised learning still, is often the preferred choice of algorithm for those. Having said that, text is huge, so I think it's wildly exciting, but it's also not everything.
I see. So what do you think there should be done to increase the market size of the generative AI even more from the current stage?
I think it's still early phases. I think a lot of the exciting work that remains to be done ahead of us is to take generative AI and to identify and build the concrete use cases. We've been doing this for 10, 15 years for supervised learning, and we're still not yet done. Today in generative AI, I can share with you what seem to be the two most commonly requested applications. from the big corporations. They are customer service chatbot, but this needs to be customized to different companies. And then the other application that's most commonly requested is a question answering bot to answer questions using a collection of documents. So these seem to be the two most requested applications. And I see a lot of companies building these two, one of these or both of these two applications right now. But beyond these two, there's also a lot of other new and exciting applications. And there's also new and exciting cutting edge technology. Just a few days ago, Meta Facebook released Llama 2. People are doing research on agents framework. These are AI that can decide by itself what to do next. I think tool use with AI, GPT-4 released a tool use API where large language model can decide, I don't know how to do this thing. I'm going to call a software subroutine to use a tool. And then also, I think what we've seen with the text revolution, it is coming to computer vision. Text transformers work well. There's a technology called vision transformers that isn't very widely known outside academia, but it's really taking off. So I feel like working on concrete use cases as well as all of these technical innovations, I think that will open up a pipeline to really continue to grow what we can do with generative AI for a long time. I'm curious, Alice, you do research on this. Do you want to share your perspective on this too?
She wasn't prepared for this.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Alice.
Yeah, I mean, I also think that generative AI, you know, it's been around for a few years, but if you look at the AI textbooks from, I don't know, like 10 years ago, the term generative AI wasn't even there. It was like supervised learning and unsupervised learning and reinforcement learning. And so this, I think, relative to the amount of time that we've been looking at this, I think it's actually growing really fast. So it's actually, to me, it seems like it's not really a good question to ask, like, how do we get generative AI to grow even farther? I think it's just going to do that automatically. It's just, we just haven't had enough time with it yet. But I see it like growing really fast, and it'll probably, my prediction is it's going to overtake even maybe supervised learning.
All right, and continue for your next question.
Yeah. So I'm going to switch gears. So you talked about ethics and social impact, which, you know, I appreciate you touching on that, even though I think you may have run out of time. But when we talk about some potentially negative social impact, I think we can talk about this problem of AI divide, right? So regions or countries or even groups within a country, groups of people I think they are going to fall behind because they don't have, you know, access to the technology, the infrastructure, the data, whatever it is, to actually make the progress that we are making with technologies like ChatGPT. And you do talk about in your one of your letters this problem of resource curse and how that is related to some of these really serious problems like, you know, like equity and right. So I think the combination of actually this AI divide thing, you know, certain groups of people falling behind because they don't have access to technology, and then this problem of resource curse where the government does actually not allow, you know, people to express themselves and things like that. So what do you think about this problem of AI divide, and is there a solution? And I know it's a really serious, big problem, so we can't really have an easy solution, but I just wanted to see what your thoughts are.
Yeah, wow, those are really deep questions. So I think the AI divide, what I'm seeing is that we still have like a couple billion people on the planet without good internet access, and I think that's a huge problem. If you don't have internet access, there's a lot of modern technologies that you just can't access. So I hope that I see governments slowly making progress on that. And then what I see is that so long as you do have internet access, good broadband access, the divide, while still there, seems to be shrinking. So today, you know, everyone has access, right, pretty much to ChatGPT and Bard if you do have broadband internet access. If you don't, then that's a huge problem. And so I feel like getting everyone online, that's an acute problem we have to work on. But once you have internet access, there's enough stuff that's free unfortunately, maybe not necessarily in the language that someone speaks. So the fact that many systems work better in very high resource languages like English, I think that's also a problem. But at least I think that gap is shrinking if you have internet access. And then about the resource curse, is this observation that I think the World Bank has released a statement pointing out that some of the worst human rights violations or some of the least democratic nations, sorry, I'm probably misquoting this, but if you look at a country with rich natural resources, like, minerals or oil, compared to otherwise similarly situated companies, similarly situated countries, the resource-rich country can sometimes end up much less democratic and with worse human rights records. And the reason is, if, say, there's a dictator of a, oil-rich country, they don't need to care about people. You can hire a foreign power to extract the oil. The foreign power pays the dictator's forces to keep them in power. And so there's actually less of an incentive to make sure people is well taken care of. And this is a really tragic effect that some of the most natural resource-rich countries are actually, some of the worst records of democracy and human rights. So I was, after the hype about AI extinction risk, which I really don't get, I just don't see AI creating extinction risk, I was trying to think through what are the real risks of AI and my own sincere, what's the worst dystopian scenario that I see? There's one thing I worry a little bit about, which is if AI automation means that people are no longer important for production, like it is already in natural resource-rich countries, then there could be less of an incentive for governments or for corporations maybe to take care of people. And I was worried if this leads to a fraying, a reduction of democratic norms in different countries. This is why I feel like, especially in democratic nations, having people be knowledgeable about AI so that we can move together as a society with an educated population that can vote, they can together decide how do we build a richer society that's richer for everyone, rather than just have high concentration of power where a few dictators don't need to care about human welfare anymore. I feel like having really all people around the world, especially in democracies, figure out how to build that brighter future together seems important too.
Right, so maybe I wasn't explicit about this, but I think I was referring to that potential intersectionality where you have those natural resource-rich countries with human rights problems, and then people with somehow, less access to even education about AI for some reason. And I don't totally agree with you on the point that the divide seems to be shrinking. I think it may actually be either staying the same or even enlarging because of this language issue, with English being such a big proportion of NLP research. And you do have languages like Korean where we are actually doing quite well, but then a lot of the languages are actually not, there's nothing there at all. And even if you do things like machine translation, a lot of the content doesn't really translate well to those to meet the demands of those populations, like whatever their culture is or history. And so that combination of people falling behind or not having access to AI because the resources are not there, and then their already existing problems, I think may actually exacerbate the problem even more. So that was what was trying.
I hope we can all work on it. I think it is a problem. I do believe the world is getting better. So occasionally, Bill Gates released this report showing that child mortality, kind of maternal mortality, childhood mortality is down. You're much less likely now to die in a violent war than ever before. I don't know if the Russian invasion of Ukraine changed that materially, but statistically, people die much less from infectious diseases, less likely to die from violence. Rights for all genders are improving around the world. So I feel like the world feels like it's getting safer from the aggregate statistics. But of course, I also agree that there are pockets of the world, maybe very large pockets, where human rights and equality are still major issues. And we should absolutely obsess with them and see what we can do to play our part in making it better.
All right. First of all, Andrew, I think you should drink some water. I feel like we are putting him in the middle and throwing the question ball of bombard balls into him. So, right, have some time for water. And Ian, would you like to add something to this conversation about AI ethics on the VC side, or do you want to switch any gears to other topic? Go ahead.
I mean, I think to get there, like we talked about dystopian future or AI being too productive that we don't need humans anymore. I mean, to get there, I think we're a long way away from there. And I was just wondering, Andrew's perspective, that can we ever achieve AGI, or how are we going to deal with the hallucination problem that LLMs have right now? Like, is that a problem that we can solve in a year or two, or that's going to be like 5 to 10 years away from now? Or do we need another breakthrough for that?
So I'm seeing some short-term. So when you prompt an LLM, it often makes stuff up. That's a hallucination. And so I see some short-term technologies that are very promising for reducing hallucinations. So AI models just making facts up, false facts up. So one technology is called. So it turns out that we often train these giant LLMs, large language models, and try to get them to memorize a lot of facts about the world. But it turns out that large language models are, so as knowledge stores. I often think of them as better reasoning engines than as database knowledge stores. And so there's one technology called retrieval augmented generation, where if you ask an LLM a question, rather than trying to get it to use its brain to have memorized the facts and just answer the question, we instead can allow it to do a search, maybe do a web search or pull up an article on Wikipedia or something, and then give it an article relevant to your question, and have the LLM, large language model, be used as a reasoning engine to read the article that was just received and format that into an answer that's appropriate. So that technology, if you let the LLM read an article and reply based on facts that were pulled up in a trustworthy article, that is reducing hallucinations. And then there's one other technology that slows down your response speed but seems to work, which is if you can do this, you can actually ask the LLM to double check its own answer. You can actually prompt it to say, is everything you said, is it actually based on one of these articles? And it turns out if you do that, it's actually, quite good. It was like not bad at double checking itself. Now, I don't think we'll ever get LLMs to have a level of hallucination that is exactly zero, because just like sometimes we as humans, we forget or we make a mistake, I think LLMs will always have, maybe a small chance of making a mistake as well. But with technologies like retrieval augmented generation and the LLM double checking itself, as well as a lot of large LLM providers are very aware of the hallucination problem and are highly motivated to keep working on it. So I'm very optimistic that in the near future we can significantly reduce, or we'll have techniques that can significantly reduce hallucinations and get LLMs to be more factually accurate.
Right. Adding to that question about AGI, I'd like to ask one more question about AGI. That you said you think the AGI is we are gonna achieve AGI within like 30 to 50 years, right? So why do you think that way? Because some people think that it's gonna happen like in 10 years. Why do you think it's gonna be in 30 or 50 years? And what do you think is the bottleneck for achieving AGI at this moment?
So one funny thing about AI, so the definition of AGI, to achieve it, you need an AI to be able to do any intellectual task that a human or other mammal can. And so, for example, most humans can learn to drive a car in 20 hours. So can an AI learn to drive a car in 20 hours? And so I think that one funny thing about the definition of AGI is it compares AI to humans. And I think the biological path to intelligence taken by humans has gone one route. The digital path to intelligence is really going via a very different route. It's just a very different set of technologies. So AI today is already much more intelligent than any of us on some dimensions. But if you force this digital route to intelligence to be compared to the biological route to intelligence and to close every single gap there is, then I think that still will require additional breakthroughs that we've not yet discovered. The transformer neural network is fantastic. There's innovations on it, different versions of the transformer architecture. But frankly, I don't think the transformer architecture, which has been a foundation for a lot of the recent breakthroughs, I don't think by itself will take us anywhere near AGI and doing any intellectual task a human can do. So to really reach AGI, I think we'll need additional breakthroughs. It's really hard to predict when the breakthroughs will come. Having said that, the fact that AI is already more intelligent than any human on many important dimensions, that's also wildly exciting and is a sign of just a number of very useful, beneficial things we can already build with AI. So I don't know that. I actually spend my time just trying to build exciting, beneficial, hopeful things rather than all the time just worrying about benchmarking the digital path to intelligence with the frankly very different biological path to intelligence.
All right. I think this would be the last question from the panels, and I'd like to ask you about the AI fund. And you mentioned a little bit about like you want to have a fund in like operating in Korea. I thought that's even had a conversation with Ellen over here. I thought that's a thing. But like, do you think there's gonna be a chance, or if that's so, like, what do you want to do with Korean ecosystem of AI?
Yeah, I don't want to make any promises publicly, but I feel like it's been really exciting, seeing so much work with the small startups, big companies, academia, and Korea. There's really, I think Korea has all of the resources it needs to have a very good shot at being a future AI superpower. And I think, AI Fund, we partner with entrepreneurs to build companies. I'm really excited about trying to do more work in Korea. So we've been speaking with different partners in Korea that I hope will have an opportunity to work with. The specifics of, how that works, I think is still being sorted out. But I would love to, come back to Korea more often and find more ways to hopefully play. Love to play it. I would feel very privileged if in the future I'm allowed to play just a tiny role supporting all the great work that's going on in Korea. And I hope that there'll be many more opportunities for me to visit and for all of us to build together. And I'm actually very bullish. I'm very optimistic about the future of AI in Korea.
But not public any promises, in public.
You can make a public promise to visit KAIST, right?
She's been consistently saying that you should visit KAIST.
No, KAIST is great. I love the university.
All right, I'd like to move on to the audience questions. So 2 panels from Alice and Ian. You'll have the panel audience question list. So you should call out the one who should ask the question. Number 1, this one, you can see it, right? That guy. You can call out the name of the person who asked the question. And the staff over here will hand over the mic to the questioner. Would you call out the first one?
삼성전자 박경윤님.
박경윤, Samsung Electronics.
Where are you? Raise your hand, please.
박경윤 from Samsung Electronics.
Not here? Okay, move on to the next one.
Upstage 이현준.
Lee Hyunju from
Right
Upstage.
here, I can see that. Yeah, you can just say. Would you stand up?
I'm sorry, my
Oh,
legs.
sorry.
Hello, Professor Ng. And first of all, I'm very honored to be here and ask you questions about AI because I also started learning machine learning by your lecture. So, and thank you for giving this wonderful lecture today. Okay, let me begin the questions. I'd like to ask 2 questions from 2 different perspectives. So one is about the future of LLMs, and the second thing is the future of us, like the future of AI modelers. So as you said earlier, LLMs can do so much that I almost feel like it is making the many AI models that have come before kind of meaningless. So as an AI person, I'm thrilled, but at the same time, I'm a bit worried. So my first question is, do you think LLMs can replace most of the AI models in the long run? And if not, or if it is, whether it is, at this moment, what do you think LLMs can do and cannot do? So this was the first question. Okay, thank you.
One question only.
Oh, one question only?
I'm just joking. Okay. Let him answer for this one first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for your question. I hope your leg gets better soon. So, I think that one major limitation of LLMs is that it's really only good for unstructured data, so text, images, and audio. And here's what I'm seeing. I feel like when I build with LLMs, there are maybe 3 levels to which you can apply the technology. There's prompting, where you write a set of instructions and have it go. That's very fast to develop, and it works pretty well. And it's good enough for some applications, but there are also some applications where just writing a prompt isn't really good enough. And so, for example, if you want to filter toxic speech, it turns out to be really difficult to write a really clear description of what is toxic and what is not. In fact, if you want to train human moderators, it's really difficult to just write a set of instructions. You have to show the human moderators some examples for them to get a sense of what you think is toxic and what is not toxic. So if just prompting doesn't work well enough, the next level up of technology is fine-tuning, in which we will take a large pre-trained transformer, a large pre-trained LLM, and then basically use supervised learning to have it be tuned or to learn further from dozens or hundreds or maybe thousands of training examples. And the technology is actually getting pretty good. So you can do this with maybe a few days of work, whereas prompting is a couple days of work, 1 or 2 days of work. Fine-tuning is maybe like a week of work. And that can raise the capability to a much higher level than just prompting. And I think this is now using supervised learning, and this type of text embedding workflow is actually increasingly making its way into supervised learning. And then finally, the very expensive thing that very few companies will do right now with existing technology is train an LLM from scratch. That costs maybe tens of millions of dollars, and that needs to be done with very advanced technology teams with very large GPU computing resources, and that takes months. So in terms of whether LLMs will replace other types of machine learning algorithms, I think that for the many of the easier tasks, I would rather prompt an LLM now than train a supervised learning algorithm. But the exciting thing about that is I think that with it being so much easier to build and deploy a system, we'll see a lot more machine learning applications. Because here's one example. If it takes you 6 months to build an AI system, then we better get a product manager, make sure it's worthwhile, make sure there's customer need, plan it out, allocate budget, and then only if we know it's really valuable, then we send 6 months to build it. But if it's going to take you 2 days to build it, then let's just build it and see if it works. And if it doesn't work, we can discard it. So I'm seeing that we can also try a lot more things. So, I think in some cases, LLMs will replace older generations of technologies. So for example, actually, frankly, I used to use naive-based classifiers. I used to use support vector machines. I almost never use them. Frankly, I never use them anymore these days. So I think there'll be a subset, not all, but a subset of supervised learning that will be replaced by LLMs. But the lower barrier to entry also means that there'll be a lot more machine learning applications. I find that very exciting.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
Do you want to go for the second one or give chance to other people? Go ahead.
Thank you.
No, actually, go. You told everyone you have 2 questions, so go for it.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Go ahead.
Thank you. So the second question is about the future of us. As I said earlier, I'm an AI modeler, and I'm a bit worried because I feel like, as you said earlier, I feel like LLMs can replace many AI models in the future. So, so what I want to ask you is, how should I point my career path in the future? Because LLM, as I agree with your. I agree with you that LLM applications are very important in the future, like making LLM. Sorry, I mean.
Do you want to speak in Korean? It's okay. No, go for English, Korean. It's okay. Both are okay.
한국어로 할게요.
Let me speak in Korean.
그러니까 그 교수님이 말씀을 하신 것처럼.
So as you said before, making LLM is very valuable. I also agree with you. But as an AI modeler, how should I make the career path? I'm worried about that that is the fact, because there are easy to apply AI and many other LLMs can be used for making AI. So these can be done even though you are not an expert. So in this situation, now we can see new ecosystem. So I'm wondering what is your opinion about this new career path and ecosystem? And based on my experience, how should I utilize my career and how should I position myself as a career path?
I think so, yeah, thank you. And I think your English is fine. I actually got it from the English too, but thank you. Your English is good. So I feel like what I think will be true for many job occupations is people that know how to use prompting and LLMs will do better and will replace people that don't. So even before talking about developers, I think that doctors that know how to use AI will replace doctors that don't know how to use AI. I think artists that use AI will replace artists that don't use AI. And so I think for engineering and software development as well, engineers that know how to use modern AI will be more powerful, more capable, and can be able to do more than engineers that don't know how to do it. And I think that right now, what I'm seeing is the set of ideas of valuable things one could build is much bigger than the number of people with the skill to build it. And so long as the set of opportunities is growing faster than the number of people able to do it, then I think that this even creates more demand on skilled developers to go and build those opportunities. I'll mention one other thing. It turns out that when a field is going through a major disruption, that's often a fantastic time to enter a field. I remember 10, 12 years ago when deep learning was undergoing the revolution and starting to work really well. There were a whole bunch of people that jumped into deep learning at that time, and that turned out to be a fantastic career move because it gave you the opportunity to work on the technology that was kind of immature with a lot of new open things to build. And so the people that joined deep learning maybe 10 years ago, many of them had fantastic careers because they were often the first to apply deep learning to an exciting application, or there was an important research problem that just no one had even looked at. And because they were early, they could work on it and be that innovator to publish that groundbreaking research paper. So this is what I'm seeing in LLMs as well. The whole field is going through a disruption. I have sometimes run into people that ask me, hey, Andrew, it feels like LLMs are so advanced. Am I too late to join? My answer is no. We're just getting started. The disruption is just getting started. So it's a fantastic time to join. And so because the field is going through disruption, I think there's a lot to learn. And I think all of us, me too, right? We have to keep an eye on the technology, keep learning and build on top of it. But I think a great way to have a career, I know you're already an AI modeler, but whether you're already an AI or whether you're new to AI, because the whole field is going through such disruption, this is actually a fantastic time to be joining and working hard in this field because there's so many new opportunities that are just created that no one has just even looked at yet.
Thank you for the answer. I think we are short of time, so I think we'll have one more question from EN's list, the top of EN's list, and then one press question, and it'll be it.
루닛의 송원님.
Songhun from Lunit. Oh, right over there.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for your nice talk. It is quite tough to ask some questions to you because if I want to see you, then I need to see my face. So, okay, great. I'd like to ask you a question about the data-centric AI because you're expert in data-centric AI and you've emphasized the importance of the data-centric AI so far. By the way, I'm Han, working as a research scientist in the data-centric AI team at Lunit, which is a medical AI company. And so, unfortunately, the success of the unsupervised learning and the generative AI methods are highly relies on the number of the data or the number of the data or the size of the data set, which is quite obvious because it's a supervised learning. But many researchers or many companies, especially the medical AI companies, often struggle with the challenges due to the small data sets. And I'd like to ask you which which data-centric research directions are promising at this moment for that?
Boy, yeah, thank you. It's a very general question. Thank you for that question. By the way, I thought David's presentation on data-centric AI was excellent. I feel like it was actually lots of very cool ideas. I think data-centric AI is still in the early phases. I feel like right now, I don't know if I'll be able to give a very specific answer, but my sense of the field is right now, there are experienced engineers. They can look at the data set and just kind of instinctually know, oh, you need more data of this type. Oh, you need to clean up this label. I think we're still at the very early stages of building tools to be much more systematic in how we go about getting a good data set. So David presented some results on, selecting what examples to label. I thought that's one example. And then I see other research on selecting automatically of the data that's already labeled, what examples seem to be mislabeled, and you should take a look at that. Actually, one of my teams, Landing AI, has software that does this, but so do others. But I think if we can take all the intuitions that really skilled, really experienced machine learning engineers kind of instinctually do and figure out how are they doing this, what's the intuition, and try to codify that into algorithms, I think we can make a lot of progress there. And then I'll just mention one other thing. Generative AI is built on large pre-trained transformers, text or image transformers trained on lots of data. I'm seeing that that's making the need for data-centric AI even more important in two ways. One, when you're training a large language model, we have large data sets, but how we engineer the very large data sets is still critical, so that's one. But then the second thing, more directly relevant to everyone using these models rather than training models from scratch, is when we have a large pre-trained transformer, you can then fine-tune that or prompt it with maybe few-shot learning, but you can use a few additional examples to get the large pre-trained transformer to work well on your task. And the fact that the transformer has been trained on such a large data set, it actually reduces the amount of data you need for your task. And in fact, my teams have been building computer vision systems with dozens of images for a while, and that's because we use a very large pre-trained model. It used to be a large pre-trained supervised model, like pre-trained on the ImageNet, but now is increasingly large pre-trained vision transformer or text transformer trained on unlabeled data. But now, the fact that we can get things to work with, 15, 10, maybe 20 examples, that means that that very small data set really should be carefully chosen, because if you have 20 examples, then if 2 of them are bad, that's a very large fraction of the data set. So I feel like this new era of data-centric AI, where we have such small data sets, it raises a new set of research questions and technical questions on what are the tools to build a really good 10 training example data set to use with my large pre-trained transformer.
All right, thank you. So I'm obligated to take one question from press. So anyone from press can raise your hand. The gentleman right over here. Right over here. Please say the name of your company, and this should be the last question, and I'll stop torturing Andrew with more questions. All right, go ahead.
예, 반갑습니다. 저는 GDNet Korea.
Good evening. My name is Bang Moon-ju from GDNet Korea. I have 3 questions. First,
AI 펀드 벤처 CEO로서
I would like to ask a question about the AI fund. And the second question is about your job at Stanford. And let me ask a third question, the technological question. So I'll ask 3 questions altogether. As a CEO of AI fund,
벤처 투자 CEO로서
as a CEO of a venture fund, what is the amount of the fund and how many companies did you invest? And is there any company you made exit? And including SelectStar, do you think, is there any good candidate to make investment? That is the first question. And as a professor, before, I think you taught machine learning, and now you're working as a CEO and professor. Now time is changing. So previously you are known as a globally known scholar. So how do you balance between the professor job and funder? And should I call you as a scholar or funder? And how many people do you teach? And third question, you talked about hallucination and explainable AI and black box. And I would like to talk about black box issue. Basically, in AI, there is a black black box issue, and there is a hallucination issue, and we cannot remove hallucination issue 100%, and I believe you cannot remove a black box issue 100%. So I believe this is a probability parrot. So do you think we can address this black box issue 100%? And this is the last question about our country. Meta opened Llama 2, and they jumped into global AI competition. And Korea is the third country that has the hyperscale AI. However, compared to the US and China, our size is smaller. And you visited Naver and Kakao, and in the global stage, do you think how we can become the global #1?
Please answer only questions you can remember.
Wow, there was a lot of questions, but thank you. So I think, the first question, AI Fund, AI Fund is a $175 million fund. We've invested in 32 companies. I think many of them are fantastic. I guess I love them all. But I think, I talk about bearing AI, using AI to make shifts more fuel efficient. Kira Learning is working to deliver AI education to K-12 institutions. Facted is helping with workforce augmentation with AI. Landing AI provides software that makes computer vision easy. Wobots is doing digital mental health. I talked about Amarai, AI for romantic relationship coaching. But really a lot of different businesses pursuing different exciting opportunities in different sectors of the economy that I hope are going to help a lot of people. I think,
do you prefer the academia or the industry?
Yeah, I think I've been very privileged to be working with fantastic teams in both academia as well as in a corporate environment. I was, tenured at Stanford. I was running the Stanford AI Lab. These days, I'm actually spending more of my time at AI Fund and its portfolio companies and doing education work. I still teach at Stanford and mentor some students at Stanford, but I think Stanford's been very, very nice to me to have me continue to do that, even as I've spent a lot of my time, pursuing these other things. What was the first question?
Explainable AI?
Oh, right. Explainable AI. So I feel like the techniques for explainable AI, they're actually rapidly getting better. In fact, I'll give you one example. It'll sound like I'm being trite. It sounds like I'm trivializing it, but I'm sincerely not, which is if you ask an LLM for an answer and it gives you an answer and you want to know why, now you can actually ask the LLM, why did you say that? And sometimes it gives a plausible answer. I found that and sometimes it's not a good answer, but it's starting to get better. And I feel like some of the answers are actually not bad. And we can even prompt LLM, what do you think is the answer to this? Think step by step and have it walk through its reasoning to give you the answer. So what I found is that when I build AI projects, yes, they are black box, and sometimes when we work with, say, healthcare, a doctor wants to know, why do we think this thing of this particular medical patient? I found that if we understood why does someone need some explanation, most of the time, I'm going to say 95% of the time, we've been able to find a technical solution to give enough of an explanation to satisfy the user so that they can decide whether or not they can trust the system and have it move ahead. Not 100% of the time, but if we understood what someone really needed to know about the output of a system, a lot of the time we're able to find a technical solution. And then the last question, thanks for asking a question about Korea. I think Korea already has a lot of the resources with a fantastic software engineering economy, with a growing venture ecosystem. I think strong government support for basic research as well as for corporations as well as for venture. So I think Korea has a lot of the assets needed. I think looking ahead, I think some additional steps. I feel like continued public investment is important for all nations to keep on developing AI technology. Frankly, one of the things that's unfortunate in the United States is so difficult for many great academics to raise research funding. We're having many fantastic professors spend so much of the time writing research grants in the US is a bit tragic. So I think significant public funding in basic research is important. And then I think that Korea's ecosystem of startups continue to mature. I think Korea has very good software engineering talent. A lot of people are learning more about AI. I think the skill set in Korea of building AI applications is not bad. I think there's work to be done to grow the deep tech capability. And I see also more and more people maturing in the business aspects of how to build a startup. So all of these are very encouraging signs. And then lastly, I feel like one of the lessons I've learned working in AI for a long time is the importance of community. So one thing I hope all of us can work on together, I'd love to support this if I can, is frankly, I know in some parts of the world, people feel like, oh, there's a narrow set of opportunities. I want to elbow others out. I want to grab the opportunity and don't let someone else grab it. What I see in AI and my philosophy to AI right now is there are so many exciting opportunities, and if we work together and build things together, we can do much more together. So AI today is a very positive sum world. There are more ideas than we can build, and I don't believe in fighting people for a limited set of opportunities. I believe in working together to go after a much bigger set of opportunities. And in fact, in Korea, and really around the world, for the AI community, I feel like we're all in it together. So what I hope all of us will do, what I hope all of you will do, is help each other out for no reason and with no expectation of return. In Silicon Valley, building Coursera, building other teams, so many times people would help me out, and I never was able to pay them back because they never needed anything from me. And the only thing I could ever do is thank them and then try to pay it forward to someone else. So one of the strengths of Silicon Valley is a sense of community where we feel like, you know what, we're just going to help other people. And if they do well, we're usually not jealous of them. I'm very happy to see someone else's success, and that strong sense of community. We're all learning together, figuring out together. I think it's critical for any nation wanting to build this AI capability. So I think as Korea moves in the future, having that strong, we're all in it together. Let's share ideas, let's help each other. If someone else is successful, that's fantastic. Let's celebrate that. I think that will create a foundation for us together to solve all the problems, whatever they be, to build up AI career to be a fantastic future for everyone.
All right, thank you for this. Actually, I'm exactly looking at the clock in my viewpoint, and every question, and Andrew spent at least 5 minutes to answer. So I love and I'm grateful for your effort and for your energy for today's event. Actually, I promised Ian that I'm gonna let him go at latest 9:30. So we already 27 minutes past. So I hope you don't kill me. Okay, I'd like to end this conversation in this fireside chat and question Q&A session, starting from ending remarks and thoughts on impressions starting from Alice, Ian, and Andrew. And I'd like to let everybody know that this is the final chapter of his Asian trip. So this is the last official event of his latest trip. So for Andrew and Ian, let's give a big applause, a big hand. All right. Alice, do you want to wrap up your impressions and thoughts?
I'll do it very quickly.
Please go short, please.
Yes. More public funding, of course. All faculty love that. And I love your message about the community. I think we need to build that up much more so in Korea, and I promise to do my part in doing so.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrew.
I also want to echo Andrew's point that we're in this together, we can do this together. I think AI is the future, and thank you so much for spending your Friday night with us. Thank you.
All right. And I'll add a comment and then Andrew. Okay. So I'd like to thank everyone over here and every guest in the audience. This is Friday night at almost 10 p.m., hitting 10 p.m. and nobody's wanna go, I think. So thank you everyone, and thank Andrew. And I'd like to share your thoughts and enthusiasm all over to Korea, and hopefully we can do something more collaborating with your AI funds and Korean AI economy ecosystem. All right, thank you. All right, let's wrap up.
So I'll keep it short. Really, thank you, Michael, Ian, Alice, for organizing for this, and all of you for staying late and watching this.
And NIPA.
and NIPA. Yes, thank you. And I feel like whenever I think about the AI community, when I think about all of you, I just feel a lot of gratitude, because AI is at an inflection point. With this powerful technology, all of us together have the power to use this amazing technology to to go and help a lot of other people and make the world a better place. So when I think about all the hardworking engineers and entrepreneurs and business leaders I met on this trip, and really all of you working hard, staying late, learning about this technology, using this to build incredible things, I just feel a lot of gratitude for all the work that everyone is doing to take advantage of this inflection point of this amazing technology to make the world much better for everyone. So really, thank you all, and let's keep at it together and use AI to make this country, this world better for everyone.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here for late night. All right, let's go.
Thank you. 감사합니다. 정말
Thank you very much.
마지막 메시지 더 나은
The last
국가,
message,
그리고 더 나은 사회를
making the
만들고
society
함께
and the
협력하고
world and country
동참하는
better with AI.
인지인터넷
That was
메시지를
very
주셨습니다.
empowering
진심으로
and encouraging
감사드립니다.
message. Thank you very
오늘
much.
함께해 주신 앤드류 박사님,
And
또
once again, let me
오리연
express
교수님,
my
박이안
gratitude to Andrew
대표님께 여러분 다시 한번 뜨거운 박수 보내주십시오.
and all the panelists. Thank you very much. And please give one more round of applause.
감사합니다.
Thank you very much.
영원한 봄이 온 것 같다라는 말씀을 오늘 굉장히
They said that this is eternal spring.
인공지능이 앞으로 더
So
나아갈
I
혁명의 씨드를
hope that this is an opportunity to sow the seeds for the betterment of the AI.
이상으로 AI Talk with Andrew Ng
Then with
모두
this, we would like to conclude AI Talk with Andrew Ng, and please return the receiver at the entrance of this
참석해주신
hall.
여러분 감사합니다.
Thank you very
안녕히
much for your
들어가십시오.
participation.